There she is.
Hello.
Hey there.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Fine. Just got off a discovery call, so sorry. I wanted to make sure that people had the link.
Yeah, I did post. Somebody asked in the event on Facebook, and I posted it, but it's good if
Great.
you got it. And I'm glad other people wanted to come see this too.
Yeah. Looks like we have quite a few people. So I'll wait about a minute and then we'll go ahead and get started. In the meantime, I'd love to hear what questions you may have, so I can make sure to cover anything that people have questions on.
Okay. Well, for me, I mean, because I know Profit First, and I know YNAB, and I love YNAB because they're both basically at the core based on the envelope method. I mean, that's the
Right.
idea of it, or as Mike calls it, the small plates. And then I thought, oh, I could use this with the business too, just make a separate budget. And then it was just like, it was hard, clunky. So I do like the idea from the article that you shared that sparked all of this was that it's basically he's recommending you do it as a business budget. And I think that's a brilliant idea because then it's because I've done a spreadsheet in the past where like you can see everything and what's going on for cash flow just so that you know everything that's going on. So I don't know if that's the approach you took, or are you using it like I want to see how you're combining. Are you using all the YNAB principles using Mike's accounts and then running Profit First using YNAB? So that's, I'm trying to see because I know both systems. So I'm trying to see, and
Right.
hopefully everybody on the call understands how YNAB works because there is a learning curve with it. I remember it took me a little while to wrap my head around how they were
Yeah,
doing it.
and I'll quickly go through that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm I'm the reason that I'm feeling a little distracted is I just switched over everything on Zoom from a different Gmail to my amberduggar.com Google Suites.
Mm-hmm.
So this was created when it was still a different Gmail and it's not allowing me to record this. So I want to make sure that we record this. So what I would really like to do is actually create a new.
I am recording it using
Are you?
Camtasia right now. Yeah. So we could
Okay.
use that. I mean, I have no, it's very easy for me to then render it and give a link and everybody, because I use a Amazon S3 account as well. So I can always stream it off for people.
Perfect. If you want to, it would be really great if you could just send me the link to that so I could download it. That would be
Sure.
really helpful.
Sure.
Okay, great. Well, then it's recorded, so we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, it'll be probably better quality too. That's why I do it with Camtasia.
Awesome.
Assuming my computer doesn't crash. So.
Perfect. Okay, so welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining last minute. I see we have quite a few people, so we are recording this. We'll make sure to post that. Can anyone let me know where you're at if you have heard of YNAB before? If you have any questions in particular, you can put them in the chat box, or you can just let me know because there aren't that many people right now on the call. So does anyone else have any specific things they want me to go over?
They're all going to be quiet because we're on camera. And somebody, who is it Jennifer? I'm seeing this more with these video calls. People put things over their camera.
You can just turn off the video if you don't want to. Okay, so I guess no one, I'm not familiar with YNAB. Okay, so Randy says, I'm not familiar with YNAB.
For you need a budget, right? I remember it years ago when it used to just be a spreadsheet. So.
Yeah, YNAB is a cash flow management software, basically. And we'll show you in a second, but it's essentially the same, their mission is identical to Profit First on a personal level. So they want to eradicate debt and take people out of the paycheck to paycheck cycle. And they're realizing more and more that a lot of people that are freelancers, solopreneurs, and people with variable income are using their software to normalize their months. So essentially, they believe very strongly that money is 99% behavior and mindset based, just like Mike Michalowicz says. And so they have developed a system that really allows you to create scarcity for yourself. In other words, paying yourself first or allocating certain money for purposes that may not be immediate, but that will be in the future. So you can create a whole section, for example, on true expenses, which would be all of your annual expenses that you pay once a year that you want to put aside monthly. So if you have a $600 payment that's due in 6 months, you can start to budget for that now by putting aside $100 a month for that expense. Where it's really helpful for business owners is it gives them an immediate dashboard of exactly where their cash is that they have currently on hand, and also gives them the ability to see what they can do with the cash that they have on hand. Accounting software is really designed to be able to report, as you all know, for taxes. And it does not really help the business owner with cash strategy decisions and being able to make decisions from a strategic standpoint versus emotional, or looking at a bank balance or looking at their accounting reports, but it's really historical. So it's not helping so much with the projection and looking forward. So I love to introduce YNAB to service-based entrepreneurs because they don't have a lot of materials and subs, and a lot of freelancers and solopreneurs are really more focused on, do I have enough money for the next month? Do I have enough money for the next 3 months? And it causes a lot of stress and anxiety for a lot of entrepreneurs. And so YNAB allows you to have a sense of control and a system in place for you to manage your cash. So do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, the only thing I'd add, comparing the two systems, the difference between Profit First and YNAB is YNAB, by the way, was created by a guy who's an accountant too. Mm-hmm. But the difference with YNAB is, I guess from us as accountants and bookkeepers, we're used to you look at the reports and you don't run your business based on the bank balance, right? That's a core thing on Mike's level. But with YNAB, it does take it more from the accounting standpoint, in the sense that you may have one or a few bank accounts, but you're not looking at your bank balance, you're looking at the YNAB software, which is your budgeting, that tells you how much money you have available. So the difference is that money is all piled into one or two bank accounts, but you're looking at your budget to know how much money you have. But if you went and looked at the bank balance, it might look really big. So it does, I would say the weakness of YNAB is exactly what Mike says, that if you're an entrepreneur and push comes to shove and all of a sudden you need money, you're going to go say, how much money do I have in the bank, and I'll use it and I'll worry about the budget later. So I would say that's the only weakness on YNAB, whereas the way Mike has it set up, when it's in a bank account, you can't do that kind of a panic. So that's the only difference. Did I explain that clear enough?
I think so. What about everyone else who is on the call? You can just put in the chat box if you don't want to say anything.
Yeah, and YNAB again was originally created for helping with personal finance budgeting, but like Amber said, they're starting to realize that solopreneurs, self-employed types, could definitely use it as well.
Yes, I actually created a book. He wrote a book a couple of years ago called Pace, and it was a 50-page ebook designed to allow small business owners to use their software for their business. Mm-hmm. And they switched over all of their operations strictly to YNAB, and they have several different articles. My guess is that he's actually reading the book right now, and the reason I'm guessing that is I listen to his podcasts every week, and he's talking about variable income and how to handle it. And he has his operations manager on there, and they aren't saying Profit First, but it's sounding very similar. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, we should connect them. We should get Mike and Jesse to connect.
I just got off the phone with Mike, and I've been in the process for the last month to get this happening. And I'm talking with YNAB as well. So, and when I posted it in the YNAB group, this is what started this whole conversation. It's just been massive, the amount of people who use YNAB that go, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Well, yeah, YNAB's like a movement. I mean, people get excited about that like it's a religion. So
yeah. Yeah, and I've been teaching YNAB to a lot of entrepreneurs over the last year and a half, because I do believe that for most people who are just starting their business, it really helps them feel in control with the money that they have. So if they only have $1,000 or $2,000 a month coming in, for example, it can feel very frustrating or scarce if you don't have a system in place to really see what that potential has. So kind of like the toilet paper entrepreneur aspect of it. Okay, so let's get started. I'm glad it's very clear. Thanks, Randy. All right. So I'm going to share my screen.
Oh, and I'm using my Profit First cup.
Nice. Okay. Can you guys see my screen? Perfect. All right, so this is Ynab. It's all cloud-based now. They just switched over from a desktop version last year, and they're going to stop supporting the desktop version at the end of this year. They've now implemented reports and the ability to export all data, which is the reason I've been holding off on moving to the cloud-based version, but I've been teaching all of my clients the cloud-based version.
I'm still on the desktop version too, because I really like the desktop one.
I do too. I have found that there are some benefits to using the cloud-based, and by implementing it with clients, I now am more familiar with it, but it was a bit of a learning curve because it is different. So all of these are sample budgets because I use this mostly to teach. When you go into Ynab, you can create multiple budgets. So I have my clients create a personal budget that is, in one of these boxes, and then their business budget. Their business budget will then pay them once a month or twice a month to their personal budget.
So you can connect the budgets? They'll talk to each other?
No.
Okay.
So it's just essentially the same thing. So let me quickly stop sharing for just 1 second. Okay. So see this right here? All right. So these are essentially your business budget and your personal budget. Every entrepreneur knows that if you do not have your personal spending under control, before you implement something like Profit First, you're constantly taking from your business to compensate for the ever expanding needs of your personal budget. Right. So I reverse engineer this process and get this under control first. So we implement Ynab and really help them figure out a good salary that allows them to feel not restricted, spacious, allows them to, do the goals that they want to do in their life. It's really important to have these purposeful goals that surround this so that this feels good to them, that there's a reason that they're coming back to using this system. This allows them to then come up with a purposeful sales target. So I reverse engineer the Profit First method, and I get a sales target that gives both, the profit percentage, the taxes, all of that, but also gives them enough money to support this particular system or this budget. So when money comes into the business, it gets allocated to the Profit First lines, and then their salary is transferred out of this budget as if it were a payment and goes into the personal budget as a deposit or paycheck. And so that's essentially how they're paying themselves. Now, this salary, we would do the Profit First method of come up with the average salary and leave the amount that you've gone over if you had a great month, or if you didn't have such a great month, then you're going to use some money from leftover months to make this more of a normal, salaried life, so that they can really.
They get paid like a flat salary, but you're putting money into the salary account or the owner's pay account based on percentage, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. I run things that way too, with the drip account and stuff like that too. Yeah.
Okay, so this sort of eliminates that need, right? You don't need a drip account because you can just use this, which is what I was trying to do, because a lot of my clients hate spreadsheets. So I was like, okay, great, let's try this. So let me share my screen again. And if you guys have questions, just put it in the chat box.
Or you could unmute yourself too.
You could. Okay, so this is a sample budget. Now, Ynab is essentially, just imagine each one of these lines as an account. Okay, so when, Profit First, I say, when in doubt, create an account. Well, these are essentially a whole bunch of accounts. And I have tried both. I have tried creating all the different accounts for Profit First and moving it. I've also done it with just having the lines here, and I'll explain in a minute what this is. I have found that for people who are really just dedicated and disciplined to YNAB do not need the separate accounts. Mm-hmm. People who know themselves and know that they will rob from themselves if need be, I create 2 accounts. And those accounts are profit and taxes. And those become offline accounts. And they do actually do the full traditional Profit First of moving it to the profit and the tax account. Mm-hmm. And you can have offline accounts on your budget here. They're called tracking accounts. Right. And you would just give it as an other asset or other liability, depending on which one it was, taxes or profit. Oh, actually, both would be assets, I guess, since you're just holding it there. So what this does is, I'll just show you how this would work. So let's say you receive $2,971 from a client, and you would have done this by just adding it into your ledger here. And so, okay, that deposit came in. This will then, instead of moving it to a general income account, this is your general income account, this top thing. And then I have them put 5% here, 55% here. So we name it, whatever their exact percentages are. And then we just go ahead and allocate those amounts. So I, of course, just have a little calculator in Excel to give them those percentages. So then I would just put that 148.55 there, and that will reduce the amount that's left to be budgeted. And you just do the same thing here. So you would do the 55, the 15, and the 25. Now, then what you do with the budget for business is you would take these biz expenses, and that would be reallocated to your monthly spend. So if you have certain monthly things, you would then move it. You would reallocate it, and you can go here and you can move it to these different accounts down here. So that's the first part of it. So basically, if they are concerned about stealing from themselves, then once a month or twice a month, depending on how you're setting it up, you can actually make a transfer of the amount that's in your taxes and your profit to these tracking accounts that are no longer accessible to you. And so then this would become 0 again. I like it. So that's what I found to work best with someone who really knows that they're going to steal from themselves. If they know that they're really, really good and they're not going to take money, and they do actually work with me on accountability and making sure this is reconciled once a week, then we keep them just all here in one account, like a bank card and a credit card. So far, like you said, YNAB is almost like a cult, right? Like people that use it are so
they're enthusiastic because money is emotional. This is a behavioral system. So once they get it and they get the results from it, now they just want to preach it from the housetops and think this is the way to live. So, I mean, I understand why. And of course, aren't we headed that way with Profit First too?
Absolutely. And I think really this is Profit First for personal. And
no, but I like how you're doing it. The way you're doing it is, because it's great. On the 10th and the 25th, you already know immediately how much to allocate because of the way that you have to set it up. It's like you're budgeting it for the allocations as the money comes in using this top section on the budget. So I think that's beautiful.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. I do have basically, like when I set up a client, I'll just show you really quickly. Okay. So we come up with our monthly target, and once we have their percentages here, and we figured out their percentages, this flows into this tab, which they will use. So if they were using this and they had We've already allocated profit, but let's say that we didn't. So 2822.45. Then they'll be able to just take a quick screenshot of that, and that's what they'll allocate. And I recommend clients that every time, because my clients are mostly coaches and service-based entrepreneurs who are receiving larger sums of money infrequently. Obviously, this wouldn't be great for someone who's receiving, $10 sales every day. You would not want to be distributing it every single day.
Once a week or something. Also, for that calculation, if you didn't know or your clients don't know, there is a Profit First app that you can also just, once you set it up, you plug in your number and it tells you your allocations as well.
Oh, great.
On that for the iPhone.
Okay. I will let them know. Thank you. Yeah. So for someone who's making infrequent larger sums of money, they will just go in here and do it right away. And then this money can sit for their business expenses. And we have a separate spreadsheet that allows them to really make sure that they're running sustainably in terms of their expenses monthly. But what I like to do is, once we know what that salary is, so what we were saying earlier, if their salary is $3,100 a month, then we will only take $3,100 at the end of the month. So it would, or, if they did it twice a month, it'd be the 7th and the 23rd. And so this amount here would be transferred to their personal account. And so for those that have a personal account, they would then open up their personal account, they would deposit their personal, and then that would go into their personal budget.
Yeah, that's the normal way. It's almost like they're treating themselves like an employee, which is a great mindset.
Exactly.
Especially if they should be doing that anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So
if they want to become an S Corp or something, or they want to become an employee.
Well, and that's the thing. So this really is thinking a little bit bigger, allowing you to grow, but then knowing that at some point, if you do become, if you decide that you need to have accrual-based accounting or GAAP accounting, you can definitely transition to also using an accounting software in tandem. A lot of solopreneurs and freelancers, though, it's really overkill for one that is trying to worry about where the $1,200 is going to go. And so this is a really good solution for someone who's kind of just starting out. But regardless, if you're using a bookkeeping software, this is an excellent cash management tool. And I also really love to use it, even if the client doesn't have any intention of using it going forward, to just see where they are with their cash. So I will get their information of their bank balance budget, their bank account balances, and also a list of their expenses. And we'll just go through the process quickly and mock up a budget for them so that they can see, once we've allocated certain money for different things that they have to pay for over the next couple of months, that even though they may see $5,000 in their account, they can see so clearly with this method, oh, I really can't spend $1,000 on X because I have to allocate it to these different things. So it's a great tool to show them that.
The thing that's nice about this system is if they all of a sudden do have to pay for something and they see $5,000 and they're tempted, they can always say, well, wait a minute. It's like, what could I steal from? How could I do it, but still stay within the budget? Because it's flexible enough, you can move stuff around. So
with one caveat, it's not like, moving it from here.
No. But I meant from the other allocations down below in the business expenses, for example.
Yes, exactly. And then I like to have them set up categories that the ones that can and cannot be moved from, right? So things that are monthly, they're not going to be moving it from that because those are specific for that
right.
Purpose.
It's always going to be zero at the end of every month.
Exactly. But then things that are a little bit more flexible.
Right. Like if they're building up, if they're saving up for something that's coming down the road, they may monkey around with that if they needed to, but at least that way they can keep track of what they need to catch up on.
Yes. And the last 4 weeks, the podcast has really gone in that direction of also making it clear, don't get into the cycle of getting so far into this that you're saving just for the sake of saving, the sake of seeing that number there. You had an original intention, follow through with that intention. So if that was to take your family on vacation with $3,000, when you make the $3,000, and hit your goal in that line, do the vacation.
Right.
Don't think that now, oh, well, I don't want it to go away. Well, that's part of the whole point, right? So
Yeah, that's well, I can speak to that too because it's always like the Mike's idea is with the profit, right? Every quarter you're supposed to take half of that out and just go spend it. And a true confession here is sometimes I'm like, I don't need to spend it on anything. I let it stay in the profit account.
yeah, yeah. So
So, Zoe,
great. What?
Yep, is
What
somebody
was
else?
that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so do you have any other questions for me, or
I
does
don't
anyone
because I
else?
understand. The only other question I would have, because this is the first time me seeing the online version of YNAB, it looks very similar to the desktop. The difference, though, that I do like in the desktop is you can go look at any month forward or backward. But you can only see 1 month at a time, right?
I'm on a small MacBook screen right now. You can
Oh, okay.
see more.
If it's a
Um,
bigger
yeah,
monitor. Okay. No,
I
that's good
believe you
because I
can.
was
Yeah.
thinking that I'm going to go try it out because YNAB is really quite cheap, everybody. It's like what,
Yes,
50 bucks a
50
year
bucks
or
a year.
something here. Um, so I
And
was
and
thinking,
you have these. I mean, you have a P&L,
mhm,
and you can export this out. You can export all of your spending by category or all categories in a CSV file, so you can pivot information out. It's quite versatile.
mhm. Yeah, so I was thinking I have my desktop version, but I'm thinking for using the Profit First version because I definitely have clients that I like your system. I like how you help them get control of their personal finances first and then, work backwards to get back to in the business because it's behavioral. And some of them, you can tell them they love the theory of Profit First, but trying to get them to do it behaviorally is tough. Whereas something like this could be useful. So I want to try to set it up. I'm going to use the online version, I think, to set it up like what you have here and run it for a while. And then I can demonstrate, because then it gives me something I can demonstrate to them that they can use and it's easy.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. There is one major change, and the major change is how credit cards are handled. So, when and this is the one thing that drives me crazy, but when you have a credit card and you're using it with money that's been set aside for particular purposes, when you make a pay or make a charge on your credit card, it's moving the money from, let's say that you had it under, dining, for example.
mm-hmm.
It'll move the amount from dining to this credit card payment holding line.
Huh.
And what that does is it basically says to the person who really doesn't understand accounting at all,
Mm-hmm.
you can't touch that now because now you're moving it from one envelope for dining and you're just moving it to an envelope for credit card payment. And so it makes sense if you were to show them like two different envelopes and how you're moving it from one purpose to another, but it's
Right.
just annoying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the only downside, but the goals are amazing, like really great goals. So I help my clients set up goals for, if they have different things that they're wanting to save for, conferences or
Mm.
membership fees, they can set up a goal that you can either have a certain amount. So let's say you wanted to save $3,000 for a vacation, or if you wanted to have
Nice.
$2,000 by a particular date, because that's when the conference is, or if you're just wanting to save 50 bucks a month for Christmas spending, you can do all of that. And then it keeps you on track and gives you a pie chart of how close you are. So it's also motivational for people who like systems and like to be organized. So I found that the professional organizers that I've worked with love this
Love
because
it.
it's
Yeah.
like the most beautiful organized way that you could look at your money, and it's a great dashboard for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
All right. Great. So does anybody else have questions? Because she answered my questions. Yes, Billy Ann, we could hear something. I'm not sure who it was, but somebody's cat, I think, had a hairball. That's what that sound was.
Okay, well,
um,
you guys are a quiet bunch, but I hope this was helpful.
everybody's shy when it comes to these things. I've since learned that, but But thank you, Amber. I appreciate you showing that. I mean, I love your system and how you're working with your clients.
Awesome. Well, my pleasure. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them offline. And thank you so much for recording it. I'm looking forward to all of my appointments now moving over to the new thing, so I don't have this issue anymore. But yeah, if you could send me the actual file, that would be really helpful. I like to
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Well,
Online version.
See you all.
Wait. We have a question from Randy. The Profit First is available on the online version? What do you mean, Randy?
Profit First is available on the online version. Are you talking about the online version for Ynab? So Ynab is very flexible. So I created those master categories and those lines. So yeah. So you can do whatever you want. That's what's so great about it.
That's why I asked Amber to do this, because I wanted to see how did she set it up. It's not something that Ynab provides. They just provide like a generic budget that you can edit. She set it up this way so that we could apply the Profit First to how Ynab is being used.
Yeah, so the main takeaway here is if you do end up doing this, it's a really nice hybrid to have the two accounts that you don't want to touch, profit and taxes, be in separate offline or not on tracking accounts for Ynab, so you're not touching it. For those that are susceptible to stealing from themselves. If you feel that you're really dedicated to the Ynab process and know that you just don't touch those lines and there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it, then it can save the entrepreneur quite a lot of time in terms of not having to transfer things all the time. So it really just depends. I do know quite a few people who are disciplined in that area because they've been using Ynab for so long. But I also understand if you want to just be 100% sure, make the two accounts, make them tracking accounts, and then do it that way. But again, this is really great for service entrepreneurs. It's really great for anyone that I do have a client who is doing Amazon. And so we do have an inventory line for him. And that's how every sale he gets, he puts a certain amount into the inventory line. Whereas I know if we were doing traditional Profit First, we'd have a separate account for that. But this just allows him to easily do it without moving money all the time. So
yeah, and that might be a solution too, or like an application for using this, that if you get a client who likes the idea of Profit First, but then when they find out, oh, I have to create all those bank accounts, I don't need all those bank accounts, or you can't find a good bank to really work with, this might be a way where you could have them using Profit First, and you just have to emphasize that they're going to go by the budget. This is so that they don't have to have all those different bank accounts, but they can still get the benefits of the Profit First system. And then, of course, with the Ynab, it's budgeting system, so they can, use those features as well.
Yeah, it's been quite successful with the clients that I've implemented this with. So I'm not the anomaly. There are other people who actually can not touch the lines.
Right.
And
if they understand budgets, then they can do this.
Right. And I also really make it very clear to anyone who's going to use this, because budget has such a negative connotation, that this is not a typical budget. This is not a rigid budget. This is meant to be used by human beings who have variable needs. And we never have a normal month. And this system knows that. And not only does it know that, it encourages you to not have a rigid budget. Right. So it's a really beautiful compliment, I think, to a small business owner who is implementing Profit First, because the likeness between the two systems are so complementary that I swear Mike and Jesse would be best friends, and they're going to meet because I'm going to make it happen.
Hey, I just had a thought. Get Mike. Here's something to focus on. See if Jesse will come speak at ProfitCon for 2017.
Yeah,
that would be very cool.
That would be amazing. And Mike is already starting to think of ways, like, I'm going to reach out to Jesse to see if Mike will be on Jesse's podcast. But at the same time, Mike is brainstorming to have Jesse come on on Profit First podcast.
Yeah, there you go.
It's going to happen. So you guys just get ready. And I know that it's a bit of an uphill battle, because I know that there are I'd love to hear people's hesitations or resistance to this, because that also will be helpful. but it has been really great for a specific type of business owner. So I hope it was helpful.
Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you, Amber. Appreciate this.
My pleasure.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'll see you guys.